now controlled that whole swath of land of the Al-Masih. By that time, he controlled the swath of land from Andalusia all the way over to India. That was an enormous amount of land, but they had nothing to show for it as far as their identity. And that's why he needed a man. And that's why he builds the Dome of the Rock. We talked about this, puts it above the Church of the Sepulchre. And we're going to introduce that a bit more. We're going to unpack that. So once he found he got a man, and he introduced him on that Dome of the Rock. That's where he introduced the name, Muhammad. He also introduced it on coins. That's another series that we've done, is looking at the coins, where that is introduced with him. He is the one that introduced it. The same year, actually a year later, after he introduced it on the Dome of the Rock and on the protocols, he then introduces the man's name. There's his prophet. And of course, then they needed a book, because a prophet has to have a revelation. Every prophet has a revelation. Where was this revelation? And that's why the Quran starts to begin put together. And we're doing a whole other series on when the Quran, the manuscripts have been put together. In fact, we're going to be doing a great one on looking at where are these earliest manuscripts, how many are they. That's something that we're going to really tackle, because they claim that there are not just 6 manuscripts now. They're claiming more, and we're going to look at every one of them. This is exciting. But once you have the man, then you have the book, then you need to have the place. Well, the place was already there. The place was already there. The place already existed for Abdul Malik. That was not a problem. He didn't need a place. The place was right there in Petra.
That's right.
And the narrative today, though, does not say it's in Petra at all. They put it to Mecca. And that's where Gibson has really been helpful, because certainly not to begin with. When you look at all the evidence that we've looked at all the qiblas of the mosques, 20 qiblas of mosque, ancient mosques from the 7th and 8th century, the earliest mosques, in fact, all the earliest mosques, their qiblas, their direction of prayer are all facing Petra. So certainly the Qiblas have given that away, and that's why Gibson was so good, because he was able to go back and look at all those mosques and actually go and do the coordinates, do all the coordinates, modern coordinates. No, so you have the Qibla facing that city. Then you need also to look at what else has been found. Now, once you look for this place, you need to go back and see. Let's look at Petra, and let's look at some things that I would like to specifically pinpoint. Let's put the slide up here to see what we're talking about. Petra. One of the great things about Petra is that it fits the biblical account.
Right.
When you look at Hagar and you look at what's happening with Abraham, we know that Hagar is in a valley. That's very clear. We're going to one mountain and then to another. In fact, the whole tradition in the pilgrimage of going back between Safa and Marwa are those 2 mountains that supposedly Hagar went to when she was there with her son Ishmael. Abraham comes to talk to her, and he turns the corner out of sight, which is exactly what we find with the cliffs in Petra. The Thanea, or turning to the right.
Bethania, that means something's bent, basically.
And that's the sikh that you find there in Petra. But let's take a look at the map of Petra. When you look at that map there on the right, you can see that if we were to expand it a bit, you can see that there is a valley there. You can see that this valley does not exist in Mecca. There is a parallel valley which does not exist in Mecca. You can see, as you look at the circled area in red, that's the Christian quarters. That will be where many of the aristocracy, that's the ones who actually did speak Aramaic. And it was fascinating. They are the ones, we're going to get into this later, how that they are the ones that actually give us Quranic Arabic. The Quranic Arabic that we see in the Quran, that's unique to the Quran, that everybody notices is different than the Quran that is used in Hadramaut area in the south, or the Hijaz area in the middle part of Arabia, is used in the north, and it comes out of this Nabatean.
And by the way, the most popular reading is found from the reading that is in the north also. Out of those canonized readings, the most famous one that is found most of the time in the later Quranic manuscripts comes from the north.
Okay, so let's go back to that map again, and let's take a look there. When you come down and you look at the areas, I just want to get you a visualization of the map. Let's just take a look at another one here. Here is another map that's very much the same thing, and you can see when you look at the map that there is a temple of Uzza, and there's also a temple of Dushara. So, these Al-Uzza, who is Al-Uzza?
Well, it's Al-Uzza
is
one of the gods, or the idol gods.
Actually, she's a goddess. It's a
Or
female.
goddess. Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like an idol that was being worshipped, and it was mentioned in the Quran. Al-Lat wal-Uzza.
Alat wa al-Uzza. Chapter 53, verse 19 and 20. Surah
The
53.
story of the incident that is known as the Satanic Verses.
You're right,
Yeah.
which Rushdie made famous with his book called Satanic Verses. So there you can see the Al-Uzza, and then if the orange, look at the orange area.